Well, Bradford met Leeds on Friday night. The build-up to the match was dominated by talk of Bradford's financial woes. There was even a suggestion that this could be their last ever match at Odsal if they couldn't raise £500,000 of the £1 million needed to survive.
£70, 80 there with a hand.
An auction on Thursday night of memorabilia, including grand final winning shirts and rings, raised a further £28,000 in their bid for survival. Right up until kick-off buckets were being rattled. For the fans, uncertainty about the whole situation.
We never get to find out what's happening behind the scenes, so we only get what we're told, so we don't really know what's going on half the time.
I've been coming here since I was 12, I'm 29 now. It's just heart-wrenching. You see a club like this has been around for so long, and then you don't know what's going to happen. You're on a knife edge, it could go either way.
I think something needs to be done, just not for Bradford but for all Super League clubs, so it don't happen again. They need to put something in place. So it's just don't look good, not just for Bradford but for sport as a whole.
The total raised before kick-off stood at around £380,000. A huge crowd packed into Odsal to help swell the coffers. Among them, our commentator, David Oates.
A terrific atmosphere inside Odsal. There must be over 20,000 here and hopefully enough cash generated to stave off the Bulls' immediate financial worries. Leeds with Sinfield and now Peacock. Just driving that ball into the danger zone. McShane is waiting at dummy half. And this is Webb. Webb to Hardacre, and Hardacre stretches over, and it's first blood to Leeds, and Hardacre scores a try for the 5th successive game. Well, Bradford have lost the ball. The Frenchman Olivier Alima, and I think he feels that it was stripped there by a couple of Leeds players in that tackle. Ben Thaler, the referee, is waving away his protest. Well, it should have been a scrum, but in fact Ben Thaler has changed his mind. It will be a penalty to Leeds, and Alima is off. The Frenchman off for 10 minutes. Well, Bradford still just a score behind. They're plugging away. Ball taken in by Elliot Whitehead. And Whitehead looks for the offload, but eventually is grounded on the 10 metres. Heath Lestrange is waiting at dummy half. Well, he put in the kick, he does, and then he's blocked, and then there's a Bradford player there, and a second, who's Jamie Langley, who has scored. This is Kearney, just manages to burrow into the 20 metres. Picked up by Lestrange. This is Addy. Well, that could be an awkward bounce. It is an awkward bounce, and it's picked up by Jeffries, who scores and extends Bradford's lead. It could be quite a night for them. Well, Peacock for Leeds is dumped unceremoniously head over heels, and there's a little ruckus of players. Well, Hargreaves is involved there. That's a spear tackle, and the referee says Hargreaves must go.
Well, Bradford have extended the deadline. They're on about 485,000 at the moment. How do they get the next £500,000? It's one thing, it's been an amazing effort from everybody to get to this, but there's another £500,000 to go, and I'm guessing that's harder to get.
I think that's a question everybody's asking. You know, the immediacy was the £500,000. What an unbelievable effort from the Bradford fans and the rugby league community in general, as we've seen. And it's just a transparency aspect of, well, where do they go to next? Where is the next £500,000 coming from? And actually, what is going on? How are you in this situation?
Your former chairman, Chris Casely, has said that he wants Peter Hood to go, come back in, that he can sort this out. You going in to look at the whole rugby playing side of it. I mean, what do you want to have happen next?
Well, I think immediately you just got to make sure you ring fence John Bateman and young Whitehead and Addy and those young kids, safeguard the futures of the Bradford kids in the Bradford club to go forward and keep as much quality in the joint as possible. So you look at those kind of things, and you look at, you know, what's gone on traditionally with recruitment over the last 5 or 6 years, and probably initially those will be your first thoughts. You've got to make sure you keep your best players.
As somebody looking in from the outside, what do you make of it all?
Well, probably first for me, I went back to Australia for 3 years, and you know, I had some great tussles with Brian, but you know, they were the Super League giants, St Helens and Bradford, the battles, the quality of the players. You know, you look at the marketing, You know, and you look at the great Peter Deacon, the way he started things off there. You know, so to me to come back and then look at where Bradford are now is quite sad. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I think the really important thing is for the club is probably take away all that sort of emotion. Is what's best for the club. It may have to take some pain to get it back on an even footing and then regenerate and start working from the bottom up. And I'm not sure I know enough about it, but I'm real worried about band-aid solutions.
Just very quickly, we should mention the match. That's a third loss in a row for Leeds, but a great one for Bradford to win.
Oh, it was an emotionally charged night. It did remind you of the halcyon days when we were locking horns with Ian and his team at St Helens, and the Leeds team's the great, 20,000-25,000. So you take the emotion out of that occasion, and it's a fabulous win for Bradford. So Leeds will be scratching their head. It wasn't the best quality game, but it had everything else. It had the big crowd, the ingredients, the emotion, the night. Is it going to be another game at Odsall? So a good night for Super League.